everyone. It's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here, and I've got quite an interesting guest on today. We've talked to David Layman here before. We're going to talk to him a little bit today about that game he's showing off in the background there. Hi, David. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So I saw this Kickstarter the other day come through, and
Yep.
your name and Ryan's name were on it, and you're both part of the Star Citizen project. And I took a look at it and started throwing money your way because I have a
Good
friend.
practice.
Yeah, I have a.
Everybody do what Batgirl does.
Well, I hope they will. My best friend is very into these board games, and I think that you're playing in a space that people have forgotten about how fun these games could be. And already by looking at your video, I see that. Why don't you give us a brief description of your game because you've been working on it for years, and let's hear about it.
I've been working on it for years in the sense that it was originally designed. I originally designed it for Steve Jackson Games 30 years ago in 1987,
Okay.
and it was published for a while there. It went out of print. The rights came back to me, and for the last 20 years, I've wanted to do it bigger and better. And with the way Kickstarter has come along in the last few years, we have a chance to do that. And so we're going for it this March. And if, as you say, we can hit 50K, we'll be in good shape. If we can hit higher, we can do it with better components.
Well, you've been up there for 10 days. You got about 20K now. It looks like if we can keep that up, you'll be well over that.
If we can keep it up, we're in that between the beginning and end doldrums. But yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah,
But the game itself is pickup and delivery in space. You're going from world to world. You're collecting cargo. You drop it off. When you drop it off, you get paid in Starbucks, and you earn prestige. The whole thing is framed as a competition by the Emperor to find a new Star Czar, because the last Star Czar he has retired. No one knows where he is. And so everyone else is trying to be the new Star Czar and is trying to compete for the Emperor's attention and petition to be named that way.
Okay. And where'd you get this idea when you made it the first time?
First time around, I think we talk about this a little bit, don't we? And that is that I like pickup and delivery games. I like rail games. There were a couple at the time, Empire Builder and Rail Baron, that A, were a lot of fun, but B, I had problems with them. They did not have much interaction between players, so one player would have his route, would have his cargoes, would be doing his thing. Other players would be doing their things. They wouldn't have much contact. And I really wanted player interaction. And so in this version, the contracts are not specific to a player. It's not that I have my contract, you have yours, and we're just doing them individually. Everyone can fulfill each contract that shows up. And that means we're going to be competing. For the really rich contracts, we're going to be competing a lot. And that's a good thing in a game.
Okay. How long does a normal game playthrough take?
Well, it's a game for two. You've got me in my marketing blurb now. So
Okay, let's listen to it then.
slow me down if
No, this is your time. Let's hear it.
Yeah. It's a game for 2 to 6 players, and the more players, the longer it will take. But there's 5 levels of the game. So if you play at the mid level, which is where most folks play, mid or 4th level, then it will take about an hour and a half, maybe a little longer with more players.
Okay. So I like the quote that you have in there from Isaac Asimov. So
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure you have some of his books behind you over there.
I have some of his books behind me. In fact, I have some of them over where you can't see it over my head here.
Yeah. So, and he had quite an interesting quote about how much he liked the game.
Yep.
How did you touch base with him to get him to play it?
Well, when Steve Jackson Games started doing this, they acquired a license from Isaac Asimov Presents. And in fact, this was the first title in that series. And they went up to New York to play the game with Dr. Asimov. And that's what he had to say about it.
Wow, pretty cool. Did you ever get a chance to meet him when you made it the first time, or was that just them getting
I
involved?
was not one of those invited to New York.
Okay, that would have been awesome, though.
It would have been neat, yes.
Yeah. So it looks like I love the fact that you bring people back to the table again, because I walk through these places near me where they play the Magic the Gathering games and other board type games and tabletop games. And the interaction that this one has is quite a bit different from most other board games I've seen. So you started talking about that. What are some of the things that you might be doing with another, one of your adversaries in the game, I guess? I guess you're saying it's like you're a trader
competitors. Yes.
Yeah.
It is not a co-op game. If you get into a multiplayer game, you will be cooperating from time to time with other people against a third person, but it's not a co-op game.
Okay.
But some of the things you can do, well, you can always grab a cargo. I can grab a cargo that you've picked up and get there first, and then you're left with nothing for it. There are also what we call Trader's Luck cards, and I think you may be asking about that just a little bit.
Yep.
And I actually have some here. I will hold it up like that, and you tell me if that's legible.
That's legible. Don't worry. It's bigger on the inside. That's the one I saw you playing on the gameplay that you did.
It's bigger on the inside. Gives me
3 extra actions. Okay.
Yes, this is actually the nicest one.
That's good.
But you get 5 actions in a turn, and you can play cards like that on yourself, generally, to get extra actions. Or you can play on other people, calamities.
All right.
And here, the Galactic Hyperspace Planning Council, has built a hyperspace express route through your station. It goes away. And so that's a reference to Douglas Adams and The Hitchhiker's Guide. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And if someone plays a calamity on you and you have it, you can play and avoid a calamity. And in this one, the security officer next to you is wearing a red shirt, so you avoid a calamity. So you can be playing cards on each other that way. The contracts are all, I'm sitting here looking at the cards that I have for my show and tell. The contracts are all from worlds based on authors. For example, this is a contract from Wells, from H.G. Wells. It's delivering time machines to Moon. Or, for example, here are stellar antiquities.
Oh, phaser
that McDevitt has found and is exporting to another world. And so every one of the 36 worlds, nearly all of them, are named after one of my favorite science fiction authors. And what they export then is something relevant to what they wrote about.
Awesome. That sounds great. So you tied in a lot of the sci-fi universe into the game. And obviously most people will know what Bigger on the Inside is a reference to. I'm pretty interested in it. I mean, when I first talked to you and said, let's do something like this, I was very high on it, and we were talking about it. We have this Motley collaborators Skype in fact, I see them talking from time to time here, like right now. And we started talking about your game, and most of us went out and made sure that we dropped some money on the game, because that's the type of thing that we would like to do. We would like to get people together. But these games have fallen away from being prevalent. Do you see them making a comeback?
Actually, they have. Starting about 10 years ago, and not that it was in full force 10 years ago, but starting 10, maybe 15 years ago, there started to be a comeback with the table games. And part of it is that there is interest around the world, particularly in Europe, in table games. Germany is probably the leader there. But where Star Traders sold for $20 in 1987, it is a $50 game now, and there are $60 and $70 and $80 games out there that have nicer components that are just genuinely fun to play, as much because of what you have with the game as for the game itself.
So what's the minimum players? Is it a 2-player game minimum?
It's a 2-player game. In fact, the playthrough, which we will have posted shortly, maybe by the time someone watches this,
I hope so.
We actually will have a complete playthrough of a 2-player game that Ryan and I played.
So how far into the game was it when I saw the 20-minute version of that?
The 20 minutes is sort of skipping and choosing throughout the entire stretch. I
Okay.
think it has the initial setup, but it also has the winning play. So it goes through the game, but it highlights some of the specific turning points and some of the specific mechanics that we have in the game. The
Okay.
90-minute playthrough takes that 20-minute playthrough and goes ahead and shows the whole thing.
Okay. So what are some of the I want to get people interested in like putting money down. So what are
Sure.
some of the advantages of getting into the Kickstarter? What are some of the different levels that you have now?
Okay. Well, let's talk advantages first. If we don't hit 50,000, there won't be a game. You won't be able to play it no matter how good it is.
That wouldn't be good, guys.
But even if once we do get over that limit, and I am cautiously optimistic we'll hit the 50,000, there is no guarantee this will ever see print beyond that. So it could be that if you don't get it now, you won't get it. Obviously, we'd like to do something more with it, but what we hope and what is reality is not necessarily the same thing.
So this might be a single printing.
This, sure, that's the case with any Kickstarter product.
Okay.
Any Kickstarter product that doesn't earn 100 times what they initially asked for.
Star Citizen.
Yeah, so there are those. So the advantage of coming in now is that you get a game where you might not get a game otherwise. The levels we have, the early birds are gone, sadly, but there were 300 of those and they've been snapped up. So there's the game for about $50. We also have a T-shirt. We have a book about the game. The book will give brief backgrounds for each of the worlds and what cargoes they export, but also we'll have the art that we have for each of the personalities, which we haven't talked about yet. That will have one other key thing that I'm forgetting right now. Let me see, the worlds, the personalities, and the making of the game. And you were talking about whether I was a good marketer earlier before we started this, and this is me not being a good marketer because there's a third aspect of that book that I'm not calling to mind right now.
Okay.
Oh, I know. With the personalities, we actually have like a 500-word backstory for each, for the hero, for the engineer, for the negotiator. We started posting those on the website. 3 of them are up, but the book will have the entire set, and they were written by Charles Duncan, who did Lost and Found for Star Citizen.
Oh, wow, that was a good one.
As a jump point story.
Yeah.
And he has done a wonderful job in giving life to play characters. And so the book will have that. So T-shirt, book, game. Higher levels, you can get all 3 of them in a bundle. Beyond that, you can be an Imperial Protector and get card protectors for all your cards. And beyond that, we go into, let's just bounce up to the highest. If you want your picture to be in the actual game itself as one of the personalities, $2,000. I don't know whether to blush or shout up and down about that.
Oh, come on. People pay $2,500
yeah.
for a virtual ship. That's good. That's not bad.
I have mentioned that nearly all the worlds are named after science fiction authors. There are a couple that are not named. Everyone who is in the Kickstarter, who participates, has a voice in deciding what those last 2 worlds will be. Now, I bring it up here because if you actually... He isn't a science fiction author.
I know. Okay, I'm sorry.
But...
Haddock.
And I bring it up at this point because if you really, really care very much about and one of your favorite authors out there, for $5,000, you can name a world, and it will be that world in the game. We're not going to change it for subsequent printings or what have you. Okay. Similarly with the personalities.
So do you have Zahn in there already?
We have Zahn, yes.
Okay, all right.
He exports Quantum Thread.
Quantum Thread. That's
yes.
good. Oh, God, awesome author. Yeah. Gotta love it.
Yes.
Gotta love it.
Yes.
So we touch on the Star Citizen piece, and I just want to get those people into this. So you've been part of the Star Citizen project since the beginning, but you've also been part of the gaming community for a really long time. Give us a brief run over from board game to computer game, your history in gaming. Brief. That's not brief.
Yeah,
That's like 40 years, right?
About 40 years. When I graduated college, got into grad school, came to Austin, started playtesting for Metagaming and Steve Jackson Games. That developed into work with Steve Jackson Games, development work, editing work. I was the Car Wars guru and the GURPS guru for a period of time in the mid-'80s, and that was about when Star Traders happened. After that, I worked with FASA on BattleTech and Renegade Legion.
Awesome.
I did some AD&D scenario editing for TSR, and that moved directly into Origin Systems. At Origin Systems, I was publication manager, which meant I was responsible for all the printed materials for all the Ultimas, all the Wing Commanders, everything else that Origin System did for almost 7 years. After that, I in the publications department got spun off from Origin as part of an EA move. And we started doing game guides for all sorts of massive online games, for EverQuest, Asheron's Call, Dark Age of Camelot, Star Wars Galaxies,
Wow.
and other stuff. We kept doing that type of thing into the last 10 years or so. There are fewer of us, and I've been working on a series of game development textbooks, helping with the layout and grabbing images for that. And that gets us, with a couple of other things, up to 3.5 years ago, when Chris called me and asked if I could do Jump Point in 30 hours.
30
so
hours.
we got the first Jump Point done. I asked, do you care how quick and dirty it was? And he needed it. So that first one was quick and dirty and 24 pages. And I've been doing Jump Point ever since then.
Yeah, and you've done some more stuff for Star Citizen too. You also helped with the economy, did you not?
Helped with just the start of getting a sense of what the economy is.
Yeah.
When Tony came on, for very good reasons, he approached it from the opposite direction from where I had been tasked to approach it, and that meant that what he was doing was where we needed to be going with it.
Okay. And how is your work coming with alien languages?
Alien languages are a lot on hold right now.
Okay.
I think they will happen. I'm not even sure I'm going to be terribly involved in it when it happens. Right. Just because there's so many different pieces. I can be useful in one way, but in terms of actually creating the sounds and modifying them, I haven't a clue.
That makes sense. So I'm going to make sure that when I'm doing this, that my picture is going to be taken over by some of the gameplay, because I think that people need to see it, and it seems to be a fun game. How did you get people to play test it? I saw you in your Kickstarter, you had people playing the game. What did you do to get them to play test? Did you go to a gaming convention or to a local place where people met?
Most of the video that you see there, well, I'll start this way. We went to Gen Con this past summer. Gen Con has a wonderful program where you can specifically playtest games. People can come in knowing they're going to playtest a game. Often they haven't an idea what the game is going to be. And we had 80 people playtest the game at Gen Con, and we got feedback forms from all of them talking about what they would do to change the game. But we also asked them if they liked it, because that's sort of an important thing about the game. But we went to Gen Con. We also went to PAX South about a month ago, and we did the same thing at Gen Con. People signed up to play test a game without knowing what the game was, and they were sort of randomly assigned to various tables. At PAX South, we had a booth in the exhibit hall, in the table gaming hall, and people walked by, and we said, here's a game, you want to play? And I had 120 people playing, something over 120 people playing at PAX South. So we showed them a game and said, "You want to play?" And they said, "Sure."
How did it go? Did you get lots of good feedback on it? Obviously,
We got good feedback. By a month ago, the game is pretty much done, and so there were a couple of tweaks that came up from that. One of the key things we're trying to do is make the thing colorblind accessible, and neither Ryan or our families are colorblind, so finding those players is sometimes difficult. But we did get some additional good feedback from a couple of colorblind players, for example. But we put the forms out. We said, "Do you want to play again?" And I think these are exceptionally high numbers. 97% of the folks at Gen Con said yes, they were interested in playing again. 96% of the folks at PAX South said they were interested in playing again.
Those are pretty exceptional numbers. Pretty exceptional. But you were a published game before, and now hopefully will be a published game again.
Yep.
So how has the game evolved over the last 30 some odd years?
We play tested it a fair amount before it was published. It was published, and it is the case for any game, computer game or board game. Once a game is released, it will get far more play than you could ever have put into it before it was released. There are just far more of them than there are of you who are playing the game.
Yeah. But
so we got some immediate feedback then, and as I continued to play it at that time, I could see, this is a fun game, but there are a couple things that could be better. And that's just sort of simmered for maybe 20 years. I would change a little bit here, a little bit there. But only in the last couple of years have we sat down and just hammered the game. And we have made some significant changes in the last year or two. We are confident that we have a game that is worth playing, that's fun to play at this point.
Awesome. And you're working with Ryan. Give me a little bit of background that he might have. What of his background?
That Ryan has. Ryan is an excellent artist. He has had a web comic for a while, and he has been doing some work with Star Citizen also. He and I got together first because I was doing a series with Martha, my wife, we were doing a series of Bible study workbooks for teenagers, and he came in and did the art for that and did a great job. But we got that done. He started doing some of the Star Citizen stuff, and we worked together very well. He gets the game, and the art that he is creating for it is very, very appropriate to what we're doing.
Is the logo and the stuff behind you something that he created?
That's awesome. Ryan's box top.
Pretty awesome. Well, folks, that's the game. And if you don't pick this up, you will be sorry. Board games are a family activity and a friend activity. You get to meet people and socialize in real life, not just online. And those things could be much more rewarding than some of the things that we do online. But he's part of both of those worlds for us. David, I'm pretty excited about it, and I'm going to do my best to help you out and get people to pledge the $50,000 because I want my copy of the game. So I hope that it goes well for you.
You know what? That's sort of what I've been thinking. I've been looking at it and saying, I want my copy. I would love to give one to everybody else who asked for it, but I want my copy.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask the people that are watching this. So if you too want this, just make sure you share this and click the thumbs up button below. And put it on Facebook, put it in Twitter and Tumblr and your Instagram, whatever it is that you use, because, there have to be people in a country, just this one country of 320 million people, plus countries like Germany and England and France that have enough people to come up with $50,000 to get this game to be published. And hopefully, maybe we can get some more out of that wonderful brain of yours, and you can come up with another game.
In another 30 years, I'll give you another one.
That would be awesome, I hope. Well, David, anything else you want to say?
That's it. I very much appreciate getting a chance to talk to you, and I really like talking about my games, so that's always fun.
Well, hopefully we could do another little talk about it, and as we're getting to that all-important last few days and spark some more some more energy around this. And as everybody that watches Kickstarter knows, there's usually a big influx of people in the beginning. Then there's this, oh my God, this acid churning in your stomach period for about the next third of it to almost two,
Probably a couple
almost
of weeks. Yeah.
almost half of it, and then it picks up the last 7 days, last 5 days to the last 48 hours really being the biggest, right?
That's what I've heard. This is my first time, so a lot of this is new to me.
Don't worry. I mean, being a 20K on a board game in this day and age right now, you're going to start getting out there. People want games like this out there. I know they do.
Yep.
All right. Well, good luck. I will talk to you again soon. I promise you that I won't keep you waiting. I had tried to get David on last week, but we had a water heater blow up in our house. Well, not blow up, just expunge all the water over our basement. So it cost me to miss him last week. So hopefully this gets out there very soon for people to get as energized about it as I am. David, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, and I will see you soon.
Yep. Take care.